Well, out and about here in sunny Wagga, catching up with Scott Robertson with Mark Barton. Gentlemen, hello.
G'day, mate. How are you?
Very, very good, Scotty. Well, thanks for joining me. But a lot going on today. We've had a couple of big announcements. It's an exciting time for Nutrien, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, mate. Look, we're Brisbane this year for the first time, or we've opened entries for Brisbane, and like we said earlier today, we've come to an agreement with the Bathurst Club, so we'll have that option for our Sydney and any state, Sydney, Melbourne or Brisbane vendors that want to shift their draft or split their draft. We've got the Bathurst option, which is a good option for them too.
And we're getting to meet plenty of new people. Scotty Robinson, firstly, thank you very much for the Tim Tams. Always butters me up very, very well for a good interview, I must say.
We start off on the right note. Hopefully we can end up on the right note, and everything in between will be good.
We're just out of Wagga. Do you count yourself as part of Wagga? I'm not sure exactly how far out we are.
We're 4.3 k's out on Laranda Road. It's probably a bit of God's heaven or horse heaven out here.
Here we go again, New South Wales.
And as I said, you can't tell a Victoria. You can always tell a Victorian, but you can't tell them much. But it's just a lovely place. Wagga's just a beautiful place. Probably one of the best places to breed a horse in the Riverina or Australia.
The weather traditionally is very, very good. I will say about an hour and a half ago it was bitterly cold, but it's lovely now again.
I always save the best for people I like, right?
But we must be going okay.
Yeah, we are. Look, we had a pretty solid fog here this morning, and yeah, the sun's just starting to crack through. But I think what's interesting for us, like being on my home ground, like this is home for me as well. But when you put all of the horses being sold at sales this year from this region into one catalogue, or Sydney or Melbourne catalogue, it just shows the depth of breeding, and there's some outstanding mares in this region, and some fantastic horse flesh. A lot of great winners that have come out of this area.
It's going to be an exciting. What have we got? It's about 7 months. It's going to be very, very exciting for us. I mean, saw a couple of crackers down the front. I've got some pictures of those. We've got some lovely colts and fillies here behind us as well. Are you excited about it, Scotty?
Every sale and every year, you always are excited because it's your different batch of babies that come along, your different stallions. You try to cross your mares to the different stallions, and you're trying 2 years ahead to work out what the market's going to want, and you then see the result of what you do produce, and hopefully they all come out correct and all come out alive. But when you get fillies like these ones and the colts like you've seen up there before, you're always positive about the game. I think the game's in reasonable hands. I think with a couple of the places like with Jake, with Euroby and Luke and Belinda going full bore with their announcement of their sales race for their stallions, I think we've got some positivity coming out from some younger people in the industry, not the same places and the same studs and everything that we've had before.
And another one that I've met from the Nutrien part of it is Darren Ray, and them at Madawi, Standing Stallions. Tiger Tara is going to be standing up there too. More young people getting involved, so it is exciting in New South Wales.
I think that's where the industry's got to really look at where we are. Like, there's old blokes like me, and I'm not the oldest one in the industry, but I think we need the younger people to come through and become breeders and racers and trainers and so forth. I think we can't just sit back and say the industry is going to be that way. We always need to be evolving as people change, their lifestyles change. We need to evolve with the whole industry and a sport, and the governing body needs to evolve with what life brings us. And moving forward, we've got to promote those people and what they do for the industry.
And the stories like Bardo, Jake there before, he was saying when he was a grandkid, watching his grandfather serving stallions and all the rest, it's gone full circle. Like he's actually even at one stage walked away. Now all of a sudden this year he's going to be sending his own stallion that he bred himself.
Yep.
Here back in his hometown. I think that's just a great story of the romance of the industry.
And I think, look, even up here we just saw our dearest horse online was Treasure Me at Euroby a couple of weeks ago, and you've got her young mother. She's not an old mare, and she's she's a young mare that Scott's got. And like I get excited about the fact there's a full sibling inside that mare to that one. So I look 2 years from now, we're possibly selling a full sibling to that $99,000 mare Treasure Me, and I think that's exciting that you've got that depth of breeding in the Australian ranks. And I guess, like we've talked about, we want to keep these great mares in Australia and keep them breeding because we've got a great product here.
I think also, Scott, New South Wales and the breeding scene, fair to say probably a few years ago, dropped the ball a little bit, if you like, and just took the foot off the gas towards Victoria especially. Not now. They're up in the game. They're doing a magic job at trying to, one, continue to keep what they've already got here, but then also encourage people to build and build on it and get more and more horses breeding here in New South Wales. So I get in trouble for saying the Victorian part.
That's okay. Look, I think it is, and I think they did drop the ball. I don't think they would have been getting a game in first grade because it just was let go.
Yep.
They basically ruined the breeding industry years ago, but now they're doing stuff and they've got to be commended for it. But they just can't do it in little bit by little bit. They've got to keep on progressing in what they do to make it sustainable for people to buy, sell or breed and race horses. Because if you think you're doing a good job, that's when you're behind the game. You can't stop and say, well, we're going to do this for 3 years. Next year they've got to come out with something else and something else after that. And that's what I said about Luke and Belinda. And like, not that I'm pumping up their tyres or anything like that, but their initiative and Kath McIntosh's initiative to come out and put money from their studs into the racing industry means, and they realise that they have to support the people that are supporting them. We can't go back to a point where we're not sustainable with the horses that we're racing and producing. We've milked and pillaged out of New Zealand for years and years, but they're down to 1,300 foals now. So we've got to get to a stage where we can produce 3,000 foals a year to replace our racing crop, which comes off the racetrack every year. So we can't just sit back and stop. We need to keep on promoting. We need companies like yourself that are doing stuff like this out and meeting and greeting people, which I think is fantastic. I think the industry with you guys doing it will move ahead favourably, but I think, as I said, everyone's got to keep on doing stuff to move forward. I think, like we talked about what mares and that I've got here, and there's a lot of people that have got a really, really good band of brood mares, but we've got to have that so that our sales can continue to grow, because if we stop regenerating our mares that are quality mares, well, we can't go to the sales and then complain because we don't get the money that we need to cover our costs. And everyone's got to be going forward. So the sales have got to go forward. The breeding industry has got to improve our genetics all the time. And you've just got to go, it's all about improving the sport and improving the industry. We can't stop and think, geez, I've done a good job and pat myself on the back and go from there. You've always got to be trying to improve yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think there's a lot of, like you said there before, there's a few other incentives going to be released soon as well. And that's the thing, people start lifting the bar, and people continue to lift that bar. It's going to be your first foray with Nutrien. You looking forward to it?
I look forward to every sales. I reckon. Your opinion is okay. A lot of the buyers are the same buyers, but I went to Melbourne this year. I was going to go sell with Nutrien last year, and I spoke to Mark about that. But the alphabet didn't suit the mares that I had, but I deliberately went down to the Melbourne sale and went down there and just watched and just had a look and walked around all the vendors and saw what went on, and you could not be impressed by the job that Nutrien did last year down there. And that was when it came around to this year when APG pulled out. It didn't really worry me because I'll have some mares that don't suit Nutrien, as in catalogue letters and stuff like that. I'm always a New South Wales seller. I think once you tap into your clientele and they can come and they know you and stuff like that, it's easier to sell to them and they trust what you do. But I think from what I saw in Melbourne, I don't think anyone from APG should have a worry that, or sold with APG, should have a worry about going with Nutrien, because I think what I saw in Melbourne was totally professional. And yes, they've still got issues they've got to tinker with and stuff like that, but the basis of their business is a conscientious person trying to sell the product for you. And that's all we ask for.
And it's one of the mottos this year, isn't it, Bardo? It's about as much about the people. Last year it was a Nutrien experience, but this year it's more about the people, and it's not just the people selling like the Scots, the Jakes, the people that are buying as well, and the younger people coming through.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it's like we say, we're front of cameras people like me, but behind our scenes is a group of girls and men that have learnt this industry from the ground up. They've started at ground zero. We've worked hard to try and understand what the product is that we're selling, but also get to know the people. And you start to get more comfortable. Like I said, last year, you're probably at your most dangerous. A little bit of knowledge is worse than none at all. But it's nice to get to know that second and third year where those mares are popping up again, and you get to know the families. And one thing about it, the people that are involved, they're actually horse people. They like horses. We don't make people get involved in this part of our business. We've now got a business that is on track to be a $40+ million horse business next year. So that comes with a real responsibility. If you look at it, it's a really emotional product to sell because a lot of people have only got one or two. It might be a husband and wife or a young couple buying a performance horse, and they save up for a long time to be able to afford that one special animal. So you want to make sure people are comfortable, they're getting informed information about what they're buying, whether it's a racehorse or a performance horse. One thing I do see is the chances of getting a return on these standardbreds. Fillies, you might be a 40 or 50 to 1 chance of getting back to the finals. Go to the Classic, we're a 400 or 500 to 1 chance of winning the money. So I say to all of our camp draft mates, come and have a look. And when they do have a look, they're seeing a far different athlete to what they probably thought they'd see. More thoroughbred in type. The times they're running now, they're getting faster. The genetics are better. The not just the genetics and the breeding, but the likes of the feed companies and the animal nutrition. It's a really sophisticated, bona fide industry that probably a lot of this information doesn't get out there in the mainstream. And I think that's part of our job, to inform racing enthusiasts that the engine room is really the breeder, what happens here on farm.
And how important they are. And I mean, you were at Queensland just recently, and high-class racing shown off in a high-class way. It's exciting to be able to go to Queensland as well next year.
100%. Look, for us, what I've really enjoyed, Bathurst as well as Brisbane, we're actually involved with clubs that are really proactive. They're very breeder-focused, not just race-focused.
Yep.
Both those clubs are really important to the breeder in Eastern Australia. And look, the West Australians, they buy a lot of these great Eastern state horses. So I think it's a great industry to be part of. And I guess I've been at it for a little while now, but it's good to have a challenge for us as a business to learn a product. Fundamentally, the people are the same. That's why I say the people do make the difference. If we treat people the way we want to be treated, we're starting to build new relationships. And I can't. If you fail fast. We'll make mistakes. We'll learn from them and we'll listen. We won't get arrogant.
No. Bathurst, Scotty, for you say you're only selling New South Wales. That's got to be a great additive, if you like, to this year's sales.
Look, I think any sale and the competitiveness of any sale, I think, as I've said to people before and you guys before we come to the recording, I think the realisation of where your foal sits to where you sell it to the result you get, I think is the biggest thing. And having Bathurst there and to be linked into the Nutrien race, because not always the best horse sold or the dearest horse sold is the best horse on the racetrack. So to be linked into those races where they can link into good money races, but not have to go and pay for the big dollars or the big start-up costs or anything else like that, is where racing needs. And we need to have a continuity through the sport where the good horses race in the good races, but it doesn't matter where they come from.
It's going to add a little bit of a difference too. Just when Scotty was talking then, the two Sydney sales are going to have a vast difference. You got Warwick Farm, which is a sales complex. That's what it's there for. Miracle Mile weekend.
Yep.
But Bathurst, we're going to be on the track where there's Group 1 racing happening the night before. Everyone's going to be in town. No one's going to go anywhere. They're going to be hanging around. So it's going to have like that great carnival atmosphere about it, which is going to be really exciting.
Look, Bathurst, it's history, mate. Look, we're new to this industry, and I think that's when we said, look, we need to have an option for some of our clients that might need another outlet. It might be their stable can't house all the horses that they need to get sold in the season, so give them a second option. But to be involved with the history of Bathurst, like we said, March is all about harness racing in New South Wales. You've got Miracle Mile, the Breeders' Crown, you've got the Bathurst sales, the Sydney sales. It's a good time to be part of it, and I'm really excited to be able to get involved in part of the history of that Bathurst sale. And like you say, that regional sort of country feel that Bathurst brings, it's different to the city sales. And we know those. I personally love what Riverside does with it. It's world class.
Yep.
But I love that Oaklands Junction, the feel of that old environment. And look, it's funny, like that was a Dalgety owned complex going back a few years ago now.
Cut your teeth.
Yeah, well, we were involved, but we had Dalgety bloodstock back there in the 80s, 90s, and you see the history and the horse that have gone through those complexes. It's a lot of fun.
And that is one of the things I like to try and capture, and I mean, you're the same. The history and explaining things as they go along. Watching people, Scotty was more than happy to grab that black mare and showcase her to us, and and rightfully so, you should be, because people should be proud of what they've got in their paddocks. That's the other thing, it's their products, and people should be very proud of what they've been able to put up.
To be truthful, Mark grabbed her because she was going to grab me.
I wasn't going to say anyone.
Okay.
I was going to let it. I was just going to let that go.
I will talk to the camera, and I will say I sent Mark in, and the auctioneer was disposable because there's plenty of them, right?
But it is great that people want to showcase these horses off to us.
Look, and look, we're talking about mares that are here ready to start cycling. And I think that's part of the fun for me is people that are successful, like you guys have had success with your sales results, matching mares up, the effort and the time that goes into that, and what pages match with what these stallions that are out there, and whether that's an imported stallion, a colonial stallion, or frozen semen. I think it's the Australian product. We've got some great mares. We're not just mile races, we do have distance races here, so I think our product's quite unique.
I think, I'll jump in, I think you're exactly right, because you can always say you can go to the best stallion and the dearest stallion and you'll sell it, but I did nearly sell a $100,000 Tintin filly from a $2,000 service. So it does, crossing of your mares to get your foals, and she's going to be all right. I'll let everyone know she's going to be all right. She'll make it to the races. But that's the thing. It's not always the dearest one that will produce you the best product. And last year in Sydney, we had a Seaside that nearly made the same size as the betters, and there was 25,000 in difference basically in the service fees.
And we talk, not to pick on one particular side, but New Season, McWickeds, there's some nice ones here.
They're a beautiful animal.
We've seen some really nice ones when I was in Queensland the other week, and I see, he's a moderate service fee, and he's putting a really nice horse on the ground.
If saying that, if we're looking at how we select our stallions, Falcon Sealster has been a dominant stallion down here. McCardle has done a great job in New Zealand, even they won't admit it, but he has done a great job. We've got Tintin in America who's doing a great job for what his service fee price is, and now we've got McWicked. That bloodline works down here, so you can't ignore it and say, oh, we've got to go to something else that is fashionable, moderate weight 146 in America, but if it's not the right blood to work with your mares or your bloodlines, you've got to say, well, why shouldn't I go to a $2,000 stallion or a $2,500 stallion? Why shouldn't I go to a $4,500 stallion?
Back yourself a bit.
Back yourself. King of Swing. He's always worked down here. I'll be sending mares to him this year. Huntsville I'm sending mares to this year. Seaside I'm sending mares to this year. Captain Treacherous. But you don't always have to be going to the dearest one. Stay Hungry, there's a beautiful filly. She might have walked off. The one with the
They all have now.
They all had. She's a magnificent filly with body and strength in behind. And like those stands, he's 6,300. Like, you'll go to the sales. If you get a nice colt, you're going to get 10 times your service fee. It's not about, from a nice mare, you're going to make good money out of them, and you're going to produce a good product by them.
You had a huge year last year. Are you excited about this year coming?
I think the colt that you saw up the front, there's a couple of nice colts up the front there. I think he's as good as, if not better than the filly the year before. You commented on the mare's a plain Jane. Yes, she is, but
I did say with respect.
With respect. I agree with you. But it's not always about what the mare looks like and what it is. It's how you cross their genetics, how they look, what's going to work. We all know that Captain Treacherous over a Better's Delight mare produces a good horse. So history tells you that. I've got an American Ideal mare over there that's a sister to that Captain, the Better's Delight filly. She'll be going to Treacherous next year because Treacherous over American Ideal has worked super in America.
Yep.
And the Western Hanover, Treacherous over Western Hanover's worked down here. So we've got to look at that, and you've got to plan for that. And then you've got to say, righto, well, where do you go? Huntsville you can't go because he's out of a Western Hanover mare, so that cuts you out. So you've got down by the seaside, who goes back to Rustler Hanover, so are you breeding too close? So the next best one is Captain Treacherous. Yes, he happens to be the dearest, but you've got to take that into the equation. You've got to breed to where you're not too close, you're not too far, but hopefully you're just right.
And sold exceptional, especially last year. Like, we only had a handful, didn't we? Like, I think 3 in the end.
Yeah, we didn't. And look, the market's after them. It's like you say Seaside. So I think his book was full.
His
well
book
and
is full, yeah. Mark Hughes keeps telling me, people may or may not believe it, but yes, they are. He and Sweet Lou are closed shops. Yeah.
And you look at the weanlings we saw in New Zealand, by them, like they're a racehorse. They're beautiful racy types, and there's a reason why people have gone to him, and they've been fairly affordable too at this point.
Scotty, one thing, we won't hold you much longer, and we will come back. Don't worry,
the sun's
people.
Going down, so it's
We are looking a bit dark in there.
yeah,
I noticed that too, but it's okay. I might have to put the fake lightning on it. It's okay. But one thing I did learn last year, going around asking a lot of people what they look for in a weanling, the key thing was to get and look at them 2, 3, 4 times. People want to come and have a look at your horses, by all means, give you a yell.
They always get a Tim Tam here, brother.
Yeah, not a white one either.
Not a white one?
No.
Not miserable like someone that won't give them to his kids. Only buys a white one so his kids don't get them.
Don't pinch them. That's a mean act, isn't it? Hey, we wouldn't want to shelf the person that done it either. We won't do that.
Put it this way, I'm not going there for Christmas.
No, they have the cherries at Christmas. You want to go there? Yeah. So
you'll have to pick your own, I reckon, this year.
No, but people do want to come and have a look. By all means,
more than welcome. And that's something I was speaking to Mark about before. Don't know if it'll ever happen. I'll get it off, but trying to look at a Riverina bred type system. That's not an announcement or anything else like that. That's just something in my head and a few other people around here.
Yeah, the Johnson boys and Dennis Howe's been on it too. So
so I think it's something. Like when you look at the river, like in New South Wales, probably 80% of the horses are bred between the Bathurst area and the Riverina area and that corridor down there through. I think more horses are sold out of this area. Maybe not. In past with Euroby there, they probably has been. But I think if we can do something where it makes it easier for people that want to buy to come and have a look at all the horses, slip into Jackie's, slip down here, down to Jake's, Dennis's, the Jono's, and whoever on a day, and do something for the people that want to buy your product, I think it's something we've got to look at to move, as we spoke about before. Not be happy because I had a good sales last year. How can we make the sales next year better?
The other thing about that too is also look after our good friend Greg Gangle. Come on a race day. Come for 2 days. Come on a race day. He'll look after you. He'll do a great job, and I mean he's a huge asset to the harness racing industry here. Plus that whole complex is. I mean the way it's set up and that. So it's a great area to come to. I never knew me way to Wagga until I met this bloke, and I can just about find it backwards now.
Yeah, it's not a bad area.
It's a beautiful area, except for when the sun goes down and it gets cold.
It gets cold everywhere. But
Scotty. We could talk all day, I reckon, but I'm going to say thank you. Bardo, thank you. Don't forget, all sales are open as of today. Get in touch with the guys at Nutrien on nutrien.com, nutrienequine.com.au, and follow all the information, or give Bardo or Em a call, and they'll get all their answers there. Plus, there'll be some more finalising of the Bathurst, and that will be going up on that website as well.
Yeah, the Bathurst sale will stay open a bit longer. We're open till the 23rd of August for our 3 capital city sales in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, but we'll leave that one open so people that may want to shift a horse or a late entry, we can get one in. And like I say, the phone's always on, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can, and we can look forward to working with you over the next 6 to 9 months.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Can I just say one thing before we go, and then you can get rid of me? I'd just like to thank all my partners in the horses. I've got partners in a few of the horses. I've got clients here that have mares and foals and everything down here, and for them trusting in us to look after their prodigy or whatever you want to call them, their mares and foals. Been thankful to have them for such a long period of time, and look forward to continuing in the future.
Yeah, which is exciting.
Yeah. Harness racing is in a good place at the moment. We've just got to keep on moving it forward.
Absolutely. Scotty, thank you. Bardo, thank you very much.